been waiting for that nigga to come over there at 5:30 in the morning. He don't need no gun. She probably was excited he was there at 5:30 in the morning. And that's why I think he won them over, man, because those are New Yorkers and he's a New Yorker. He said Cassie is the winner in this situation. She got $30 million and she's at home, and Puffy, Sean Combs, he's in jail, guarded by these two marshals.
Sean G, for those of you guys who don't know, Sean G is the only person that I knew in the courtroom before I got to the courtroom. We had met on FaceTime before I got there, and I had hired him as my coach.
It was like a few days before.
Yeah. And I hired him for that, and then we talked, and he really gave me great encouragement outside of the trial. Like, we did talk about the trial, but he also gave me great encouragement outside the trial. So I just want to shout out Sean G, because I'm a coach too. And so, you know, if you're going to preach coaching, then you should also understand that you should also need coaching, right? So I practice what I preach. This guy gave me encouragement. He'll be like, you know, Jay, hey, let's go chat downstairs. And he'll kick game to me, knowledge to me. And the last thing I will say about him is, as far as I know, I feel like he was the first person to give us a super chat. That he always has this thing that says integrity is never out of style.
It ain't never went out of style.
100%. So, big guy, you were at the court from the beginning, and you've asked me the question of what did I think before I got to the courtroom, and then as I saw the evidence, then what was the difference of what I thought. Now, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. I want to know what you thought as the trial went on. What were your thoughts going through your head as the trial went on? Because you were there from day one.
I thought Puffy was dead in the water. I had drank the Kool-Aid from mainstream media, from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I thought Puffy was dead in the water. And I made it my business. I said, when that girl Cassie gets on the stand, I'm going to the courtroom. I actually went like 2 weeks prior to go try to get a press pass, and they told me this, listen, it's just going to be open to the public. Who's ever there first can get in. So when Cassie got done testifying, she was on the stand for 3 days. And when she got done and she said that she loved Sean, and I believe Sean loved me, and then Esteveo asked her, do you hate Sean, Puffy? She says, no, I don't hate Puffy. She said, Puffy's lawyer asked her, do you still love Puffy? And she was getting ready to say, yeah, but she hesitated. And she caught herself because her husband was sitting right there and Puffy was sitting right there. And she caught herself and she said, she showed more allegiance to Puff. She says, I love our past. And when she said that, I believe Puffy's attorney said, I have no more questions. I said, man, something is wrong, man. Something is wrong with what everybody been saying. Because if this is your star witness, and this is the one that was in the sex dungeons, this is the one that was tied to the hot water heater, this is the one that was abused, and she didn't say that. My eyes became more and more open, Jay, as the trial went on. But from right there, I said, something ain't right here. Somebody lying.
Right. I want to go through a few of people's testimony, but that was the first thing. So the entire time we're in court, we're hearing basically the prosecution's witnesses. Now, out of these prosecution's witnesses, we had a lot. We had the Capricorn Clark, we had Mia, we had Jane Doe, we obviously had Cassie, we had
Brianna Bogelman, the one that perjured herself.
We had that one, and then we had another one that said Puff hit her with a hanger or something like that. Forgot her name.
Carrie Morgan.
Carrie Morgan. All of these witnesses. Then we had like the stylist Deontay Nash, and we had a few of those.
You had the expert witness, Dr. Dawn Hughes, the clinical psychologist.
Off the top of your head, which ones would you put in the credible category? And remember, credible doesn't mean we believe everything. It just means that they were more or less telling the truth. It's maybe not 100% true, but more or less. And then which ones will we say, yo, you got to throw that testimony out?
George Kaplan and Jonathan Perez were the only two. Brendan Paul was another one. And all three of those guys were his assistants. Those were the only ones that got up there and had any kind of credibility. And they got on the stand and said they loved Puff. They learned everything they ever knew from Puff. How do you feel about Puff today? I feel great about Puff. You know, Brendan Paul says, I'm no drug mule. So those three and everybody else, you could throw them in the Dipsy dumpster.
Right. 100%. And the reason I asked you that question was very important. I was thinking the same thing. Today, Agnifilo said the jury instructions are going to tell you that, and remember, the jury instructions are very important. The judge is going to tell you in the jury instructions, if you deem a witness uncredible, you can throw out their entire testimony. You're allowed to throw out their
That's
entire
everybody.
testimony.
That's everybody. That's everybody of any import. That's anybody who was made and characterized as a key witness, a star witness.
Right.
Of them is out. Cassie's testimony is out. Mia, Capricorn Clark, Jane Doe, Brianna Boglin, Denise Richard. All of them, throw them in the trash can. Throw them in the trash. They all had told lies on the stand or perjured themselves or made major misrepresentation. Throw them in the garbage.
Absolutely. So Agnifilo today in his closing arguments, he crushed it when he talked about Cassie lying about being raped. Now, one of the things I noticed is Comey, in her rage, she did not rehabilitate, was the fact that Cassie lied about being raped. Now, what's your take on that? And then I want to ask you about closing arguments for the prosecution versus the defense. But what's your take on Cassie being raped?
I don't believe she was. I think Mark Agnifilo spelled it out and laid it out as clear as day. Her and Puffy got together. Puffy introduced Cassie to Alex Fine, who's her now current husband. They started messing around. Puffy and Cassie stopped seeing each other. She got with Alex, but she still loved Puff. Got together sometime later. They went out to eat. Puff hit it. While Puff was hitting it, Alex Fine called her on FaceTime on the Boogie Bat phone. Mm-hmm. Alex found out about it, that she was with Puff, and she lied to her now husband that he took it, right? That he raped her.
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want the audience to know, Mark Agnifilo called that the oldest trick in the book.
Yes, he did.
That's what he said today.
So that was it. Because then after Puffy hit it then, and that was in August, he hit it again in October. Listen, Mark Agnifilo freed Puffy today. Puffy should be at home on July the 4th, eating some cheeseburgers with some potato salad, some baked beans, and a Coca-Cola. Based on Mark Agnifilo's performance, did not read to us, checked his bullet points, and walked all over the courtroom, animated, hands flying, pointing to the jury, pointing to Puff, pointing to the prosecutor. He showed the assistant U.S. attorneys, this is what the fuck a trial lawyer is. I am a trial lawyer.
Right.
You are an assistant U.S. attorney. Reading something somebody gave you. I own this case. I know this case. I've read this case. I studied this case. I've taken showers with this case. I've ate this case. I've slept with this case. I've drank my coffee. He was coming off the top of the dome. Jay, you seen it?
Yeah, 100%. 100% off top.
Trial lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I noticed, and maybe you noticed this too, or maybe you noticed something different. And I knew he was doing it. The chat will tell you. I said that he was doing a closing argument 2 weeks ago. That was one of my first videos. I said he's going to do it because I spoke to him. And I spoke to the whole team. And I said, y'all got to bring it home on the closing arguments. And the whole team said, it's on him. And what I feel like is they chose him because he's a native New Yorker who wears New Yorker on his sleeve. And he's speaking the language of the jury, who are all native New Yorkers. What do you think about that?
You're spot on. You're spot on. And Mark Agnifilo, this is what he do. He's a trial lawyer. He has won acquittals on RICO cases. He is a RICO trial lawyer. I was a little unsure because of the performance, the way they character assassinated Puff yesterday. And I never saw Mark. I've never seen any attorney live in a trial, but everybody in the courtroom in 26, 24A, 24B, people were sitting on their seat, man, like a Doberman pinscher in the front seat of a Porsche at the mall, quiet as a church mouse on Sunday, watching this man. He put on a show.
Right.
Versus yesterday, the jury was falling asleep, yawning with the assistant U.S. attorney. It's not even close. And throughout the whole trial, Jay, and you know, Puffy's team, all of his lawyers, they took them assistant U.S. attorneys to school, man.
100%.
Took them to school.
And so that leads me into my next question. Tell me about the closing arguments from the prosecution that we had yesterday.
Trash. Throw it in the Dipsy dumpster. You mean to tell me, man, that you finna read to me? And while you're reading, you're gonna make mistakes reading? And it came off, I couldn't pinpoint it at first, but it came off as if somebody else wrote it. Some junior associates wrote it, 5 or 6 of them, and said, here, read this. This is your closing argument.
You know who I think wrote it? ChatGPT.
Could have been.
I think it was AI that wrote it.
It was trash, man. It lacked passion. She spoke in a monotone voice. She had nobody's attention.
Right.
Trash.
And even today, when the rebuttal happened, it was Comey also, she was also kind of reading. She did kind of freestyle a little bit, but she also kind of reading because you could see her flipping the pages and reading the main point and then going on. Mark Agnifilo, he was, like Coach Sean said, he was walking around. There's times we couldn't even hear him properly because he walked away from the mic. And we were in the overflow room today. So he walked away from the mic, so we couldn't even actually hear him.
He was everywhere. He put on a show. Jay, I take notes. I didn't even take no notes because I was mesmerized. I'm looking at him and I'm saying, like, fuck the notes. I don't want to miss nothing that this dude is going to do, nothing that he's going to say. He had my attention like this. And I said, right, I'm just going to have to remember everything off the top of the dome. He set himself apart from those assistant U.S. attorneys, and he was mocking them like, you know, the prosecution put on a fake trial. And oh man,
that was the next thing I was going to ask you about, because he said there were 2 trials. There was a trial out of the mouth of the prosecution, which is the fake trial, and then there's a trial from the evidence, which is the real trial. That's how he started out. So I was going to ask you about that. We both know he's accurate, but how can we tell the audience how right he is?
Because I was in the courtroom and I saw a witness get on the stand and perjure herself. I saw Mia meet with the federal prosecutors 31 times before she testified. I heard Dawn Richard tell 13 lies on the stand. I saw Jane Doe meet with federal prosecutors 24 times before she testified. Right. I saw the expert witness, Dr. Dawn Hughes, meet with federal prosecutors 6 times before she testified.
Right.
And she met with them after Mark Agnifilo gave the opening statement, which is highly unethical. And then after Cassie gave her testimony, she met with them again and was helping them put language in their briefs and in their motion. It was truly, truly a fake trial, man.
Oh, 100%. Now, I'm going to go through some of the notes from Agnifilo today. If you don't mind, just tell me your reaction, your particular reaction while he was saying these things. Like, what was going through your head? So, you know, it's fresh in your head.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I want to pull up some quotes. So I already gave you one, which is the real trial and the fake trial. And then let's get into the rest of them. He talked about the kidnapping of Capricorn Clark. Is one of the things he talked about, right?
Destroyed that, Capricorn Clark. You know what's crazy, Jay? Let's go back to your other point that you made, that Mark Agnifilo is a native New Yorker, and all the jury are native New Yorkers, and there's 9 men. And when he started talking about Capricorn Clark and Kid Cudi, he repeated over and over and stressed it that Puffy wanted to have a fist fight with Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi wanted to have a fist fight. They wanted to, he didn't need no gun.
They
They
wanted
were
to
gonna
squabble,
fight
yeah.
like men.
They
You
wanted
know,
to
and
fight
that's
like
a
men.
New York thing.
And for those of people who brought up the point, just to let you guys know, there was a point brought up for those of you guys online that you're going to hear about this, that Comey sit there and say, oh, Mark Agnifilo, he said that he wanted to have a fist fight. He settles his stuff like men with a fist. He only does that with his girlfriends. When it's a real man, he brings a gun. That's what she said. But you think the jury hasn't heard the stories about Puff taking a paperweight to his son's football coach? You don't think the jury has heard about Puff breaking Drake's collarbone, allegedly? You don't think the jury has heard the stories about Puff having fights in the club, or the fight with Kendrick Lamar in the club? He also had a fight with Kendrick. Well, J. Cole stepped in and broke up the fight, but then J. Cole ended up almost fighting Puff. So these people are from New York. They've read an article or two. I'm just saying. They've seen a headline or two. I'm just saying, of Puff fighting men.
And they think he's gay because the rumor on social media is that he's gay and that he messes with little kids. But he's ready to go. His sneakers stay tied up. He's ready to go.
So let's talk about this kidnapping real quick. All right. My question is, after Agnifilo made the point that Capricorn Clark was in love with him, and she used the word super platonic to describe their relationship, he goes, I don't even know what super platonic means. It's either you're platonic, which means you're not having S, or you are having S, which means it's not platonic. Why did she have to say super platonic? So he tells the juror, remember that she said super platonic friends. And then he goes into the letter that she sent Puff saying that I always had a crush on you and we wasted our chemistry. Then he goes back, that super platonic was her being disappointed that they were so platonic because she wanted something different. So then when he's talking about, oh, there's no gun in the quote unquote kidnapping, he said there was no gun at all. So he goes, because Puff don't need a gun to go and bring Capricorn Clark out the house. He said he went there at 5:30 in the morning. She's been waiting for that moment her whole life.
She been waiting for that nigga to come over there at 5:30 in the morning. He don't need no gun. She probably was excited he was there at 5:30 in the morning. And that's why I think he won them over, man, because those are New Yorkers and he's a New Yorker.
Right. No, 100%. He's speaking the same body language, all that kind of stuff.
Aggressiveness, the demonstrativeness, the animation.
100%. Let's talk about this mountain lion thing. He brought up the point that she was speaking to Lauren London on the phone while she was quote unquote kidnapped. The prosecution says kidnapped, right? So she's in the car and she is in there with the doors unlocked and there's no weapon pointed to her because she's the only one in the car. And she's making calls to Lauren London. And Lauren London basically is like, why don't you just leave? And she says she's afraid of mountain lions. What went through your head when he brought that up?
Right, because then he said, so you mean to tell me you're in the car at gunpoint, but you're going to choose that instead of mountain lions, you know?
Yeah. You didn't say
anybody else would have chose the mountain lions as opposed to the...
that
He
Puff has a gun.
Destroyed her, man.
Yeah. Why didn't you say Puff has a gun? I can't leave. He has a gun. You said there's mountain lions up here.
He killed it, man. Capricorn Clark met with the feds 13 times before she got on the stand. She wanted Cassie's spot. She was jealous of Cassie. She wanted a Jaguar. She wanted her rent paid. Everything Cassie got, she wanted, but Puffy didn't look at her like that.
Now, you were in the courtroom when Agnifilo put that photo up with Puff's whole team. Like Capricorn Clark, Mia, everybody was in there smiling. To describe the photo for you guys, everybody's in there smiling. You know, big group photo with his whole team, everybody working with him and stuff like that. And Agnifilo goes to the jurors, choose one word in your head. When you look at this picture, choose one word in your head to describe this picture. So he starts going down words. He goes, I'm trying to find the words, but he basically said love, joy, family, happiness, stuff like that. And then he goes, racketeering enterprise.
Yo,
the whole courtroom started laughing.
Yo, he stayed fucking with the prosecutors about racketeering Astroglide. You know, the SRT team came, good job. You found 5 volumes and 900 bottles of Astroglide. Great
We got off the
job,
street.
Homeland Security.
He said, what did he say? He said, we got Astroglide and Baby O off the streets.
The streets are safe. The
The
streets.
streets are safe. He said the streets are safer. He said,
You know
the
what was
America's
crazy,
safer
man?
now.
He said that the word love was used over 881 times
800
throughout the
times,
whole
yep.
trial.
Exactly. Exactly. So just to let y'all know, like we are in the courtroom for whatever they're saying outside, you guys are hearing this stuff. He was killing it. He was absolutely killing that, man. And I heard a lot of people in the morning saying at lunch, saying, oh, I don't know. He's not getting to what I need with the RICO and stuff like that. But he did one thing that I think, because we just talked about the grape with Cassie, that he could have just ended there with that and the Mia stuff. He could have ended there and the defense would have already won in some of these charges. And the reason why is because he proved Mia to be a liar and he proved Cassie to be a liar. Now, if you're going to get up on the stand and you're going to claim a man raped you, that's one of the worst things you could put on a man, if not the worst thing that you could put on a man. And the fact of the matter is, he kept repeating, if the person is deemed not credible, then you are allowed to throw out their whole testimony. So if Cassie could go up on the stand and accuse somebody of rape and that didn't happen, then members of the jury, maybe not the entire jury, but members of the jury might say, yo, I don't care what Cassie said. It don't matter. She's not credible. She put something on a man on the stand and lied directly to our faces. How do we trust that? What do you think about that?
That's awesome, man. He really spent a lot of time tearing down Cassie. And I think that that's very important message to pass on to the jury, that you can throw out everything that they've said if you find any of their stuff to be uncredible. He said Cassie is the winner in this situation. She got $30 million and she's at home, and Puffy, Sean Combs, he's in jail, guarded by these two marshals. So who's the real winner here? Who's the real loser?
Exactly.
And
That
then
was
he
a
put one on Mia.
genius.
That was genius. He put one on me. He says, she's got a $10,000 a month rent being paid. And who's the real coercion? Which one is the real coercion? That's more coercion than, oh man, he flipped everything, man. This was his case. This was his case. He knew the
100%.
case inside and out, upside down and backwards, man.
So there's one more thing I want to get your opinion on. And then if you don't mind, we could take just a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Agnifilo tells jury, and this is paraphrasing, but y'all are here because you know how people work. You have life experience and you know how to judge character. Let me talk about Dr. Dawn Hughes, who went on the stand. She didn't meet any of the witnesses. This is what he's saying. She never met any of the witnesses. She never spoke to any of them. We know that's a lie. We know she did. But he's going to go with exactly what the prosecution said. Well, she hasn't met with anyone. She don't know nothing. She never examined them, whatever. I know that she did. They're using the same buzzwords, using the same language. He says she never met with any witnesses. You heard the witnesses. She didn't hear the witnesses. You heard the testimony. She didn't hear the testimony. You saw their body language, heard them talk, heard their tonality. And you're here because you're a good judge of character. You don't need her to tell you about them when she hasn't even met them. You've met them. So throw her whole testimony out, all that nonsense, or that psychology nonsense. What do you think about that, bro?
That was dope, man. That's right on. That's genius on Mark Agnifilo's part. But when Jonathan Bach cross-examined her and destroyed her on the stand, then I knew that was another thing that you asked me before. I began to be like, this is a lie.
Right.
You know, because she got destroyed on the witness stand too, Dr. Donis. But it was a great point by Mark.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. And I feel like he kind of bigged up the jury in that sense. Like, you're smarter than that. You're here because you're smart. We chose you because you're smart. We didn't choose you because you need somebody who hasn't even met the person that we're supposed to be evaluating, and you need their opinion.
You know what else, how it came off to me too, Jay, is like he knew that there was 9 dudes on the jury. It seemed to me like he deliberately made it that he was having a conversation with the fellas.
Bro, I said that. I said, people were like, oh, Agnifilo, this, that. I said, yo, it's very common. You have to understand, he doesn't need to get 12-0. The prosecution needs to get 12-0. He got to get one. So with his whole thing, he was talking to just a small number of the jury, maybe two, maybe three. He wasn't talking to the whole jury.
He was talking to the fellas.
Exactly.
He was talking to the fellas.
He was talking to a small number of them to say, yo, we don't need all this nonsense to be told, oh, psychiatry, this, that.
Right. We're men. We're 9 men. You're 9 men. I'm 1 man. We're 10 men. Come on, man. We don't need this. He crushed it, man. He crushed it. And I just can't see all 9 of those men saying Puffy's guilty. I can't see it. I couldn't see it before Agnifilo went, but I damn sure can't see it now.
Yeah, 100%. So if you don't mind, let's just take a few
questions.
Let's do it. Yeah, see if you could throw a few questions up. Let's see what people want to ask Sean G. If you're in the chat, please ask Sean G a couple questions. We'll throw them up on the screen, and then we won't take too much of his time. I appreciate you being here, though, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to get together. We're going to get together Monday.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it true that the prosecution objected even after they lied about guns in a free-call, even though they was testifying of that, to try to throw it? I don't understand that question.
I don't know if Akil is talking about the closing arguments or if he's talking about during the trial.
Shout out to Akil, man. I don't understand your question, Akil.
Akil, put your question back in the chat. Reword it a little bit. Put it back in the chat, and we'll put it back on the screen. I do know the prosecution objected twice today, but they didn't object with the jury in the courtroom. They objected during the break, and they objected to 2 things.
No, it was 3. It was 3 objections.
Okay, I probably missed the first one because I might have left the courtroom early. As soon as the jury left, I might have left. But the 2 I remember is one where Agnifilo told the jury, you have the right to go and wonder why they're charging him with some stuff that don't stick. So why are they doing this? You should go and wonder why they're doing this. And then the prosecution objected during the break, saying he's not allowed to tell the prosecution to speculate why he's being charged. Just look at the evidence and that's it. And then the second one that I had written down was in the afternoon when Agnifilo said this basically was a witch hunt. And the fact that he was targeted, you should understand he was targeted because people do this all the time. And the prosecution objected to that too, saying you're basically saying that we were out to get him. And even if you feel like that, you're not allowed to tell the jury that. So those are the 2 I remember. Yeah,
and then Alexandra Shapiro stood up in court when the jury was out, and she pointed out that yesterday, U.S. Attorney Slavic did 2 things wrong. One of them was misstating the rule of law, advising the jury on a fake rule of law. Said we didn't object. We didn't object.
Yes, exactly. Because we thought we were going to be able to take care of that during our closing statements. So we didn't object because we thought we would be able to correct that. And now when we're correcting it, they're objecting to our correction. We could have objected at that time. So yeah, 100%. I remember that objection.
Shout out to EHA. You're right. This case is built up of bits and pieces of stories, doesn't hold up. Some witnesses are entirely not credible. 100%. None of them were.
Yeah.
Witness got on the stand and perjured themselves, and a man is facing 30 fucking years, man.
It's crazy.
And the judge didn't do nothing. You know, it's insane, man.
Yeah, it's nuts. And to add with what you said, the prosecution interviewed these people, like Sean G was saying, sometimes 27 times, 30 times, stuff like that. And they still put them on the stand.
Who was the guy from the Trump administration in the overflow room? Dark-skinned Jermaine, what up, man? Shout out to my man, Dark-skinned Jermaine. What's up, baby? I don't know. I didn't see anybody from Trump there. If he was there, nobody told me like, yo, Sean, this dude is from the Trump administration. I didn't hear nothing like that, Dark-skinned Jermaine. Did you hear something like that, Jay?
I didn't. This is my first time hearing about it. I can go and look it up. But just to let you guys know, the overflow rooms were crazy today. Like there was 2 overflow rooms today. And because there's not always 2. There have been 2 other parts in the trial, but there's not always 2. There are 2 overflow rooms today, and they're both packed.
I think it was 3 yesterday, 24A, 24B, and I think they was on 23.
They were doing 23 yesterday too, yeah, that's right.
Did the judge admonish the defense? Yes. Went to yes. And Shapiro told him, when the jury was out. She says, listen, if you're going to admonish Agnifilo, don't do it. Wait till he's finished. Then you could do it. Don't do it when they come back because it could be prejudicial and it could make it seem as though that the defense did something wrong. But he disregarded that and he did it anyway.
He did it anyways. That's right.
What is your outcome on the verdict? Not guilty, lovely lady. Hung
Lovely
jury,
lady.
not guilty, acquitted, whatever.
Did you see her, Shanji? Did you see the lady? She's always in like the walker, the white
Yeah.
lady. I don't know if you saw it, but she was taking tallies at the elevator during lunch. As people were waiting for the elevator, she just had like no or yes, guilty or not guilty, no or yes on all charges. And she said there was more not guilties than guilties. It was like a good amount. And you know, us, we're an extension of the jury. So if we're seeing this and feeling this, then the jury, there's at least one member of the jury that's also like, I know exactly what you guys are talking about.
Do you think Puff will be able to rehab?
This means his image, like
Rehabilitate
rehabilitate. His image.
Absolutely. Listen, if this nigga beats the feds at trial, that just adds to his legacy like on another level. Nigga, I took the feds to trial and beat them, nigga. They beat 96 other people. It's only 4 of us that do it. He may not ever be embraced by corporate America anymore in terms of endorsements and, you know, but that's fine. But he can be an independent entrepreneur like Kanye West and do very well still. Listen, if he beats this and him and Kanye West go into the studio, could you imagine the album they would make, them two niggas in the studio for 30 days? And then they have Jay-Z come in and bless the mic and fuck. Oh, man, he's back.
So there's 2 things I want to add to that. One, I heard somebody, these are both things I heard other people say. I heard somebody say Biggie used to call himself the Teflon Don. If he beats this, he's the new Teflon Don.
100%. 100%.
Yo, like Nicky Barnes used to call himself untouchable. Nicky Barnes, he's the new untouchable. If he beats this, he's beat the feds twice. He beat it twice.
He's won to me. Puffy's defense team versus the prosecution team, they destroyed the prosecution. That's clear cut. So that being the case, and you put a witness on the stand that perjured themselves, you should lose. It shouldn't even be go to the jury to even give it the roll of the dice. They should lose automatically.
Yeah, I had somebody say that if Puff gets free from this, he just got to lean into the freakiness.
You think Westmoreland could done a better closing? I don't know. We didn't need Nicole Westmoreland.
That's a great question.
Nicole Westmoreland, I don't know. I don't think she has the level of experience of a Mark Agnifilo.
Right.
In terms of trial law.
I also think, because Nicole Westmoreland, she's not from New York. She's from the South. So I also think that, you know,
good point.
Yeah, she might have done a great job, but she doesn't resonate with the jury as much.
And she's a female.
And she's a female. I think they picked the right guy. I think
100%.
they probably would have said a lot of the same stuff, but I think that they picked the right guy because he's resonating with the New York jury. Shanji, I appreciate you being on, brother. Anything you want to say before we head out?
The podcast was sold on Instagram. The podcast was sold on Spotify. Integrity never went out of style. And authenticity is the highest vibration in the universe, higher than fear and higher than love.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I love it. I appreciate you, bro. We'll talk either over the weekend or I'll see you on Monday.
All right, peace.